They always want some Southern girl saying things like, "I wouldn't let him butter my dog's grits," and then they tease up her hair and send her home. David said, "No, we're looking for the lead role." Then I remembered that Carsey Werner were the people who produced Roseanne and Cosby. Tochterman let me absorb that for a moment and then spoke about the logistics of the next few days. Christine and I walked away and were going down the street chatting about nothing. 10 blocks later, I suddenly grabbed her arm and said, "My God, that was a good meeting, wasn't it?" A few days later, I flew out to L.A. to meet Tom Werner and Marcy Carsey about the show. When I arrived, I rented a car and drove to Studio City, missing the exit for my hotel. Fearful of being late for such an important meeting, I hurried towards the right off-ramp and saw a woman next to the road with a sign saying, "Please help, hungry children." She looked like me if I hadn't quit drinking or never came indoors, except her hair was naturally blonde. I slowed down for the light and saw 2 children about 4 and 5 years old sleeping beneath a cardboard lean-to by a tree. Here I was, scrambling to get to a first-class hotel in a rented Cadillac, perfumed and listening to the Isley Brothers really loud. I reached into my purse and pulled out a bunch of 20s. I passed them to the woman's hand as I rolled by. She started to say thank you, and then when she saw that I'd given her more than a few $1 bills, the rest of the niceties ended up as a garbled cry resounding in my ears until I pulled up at the hotel and heard the valet say, "Good day, will you be staying with us, ma'am?" I didn't know if I tithed for luck or to stave off the fear that always traveled with me. I don't repeat this to garner kudos for my alleged humanity. I do it to illustrate the dread I felt at this incipient break in my career. When I met my husband Ken, I felt the same way. I thought that anything so wonderful must have been a cosmic mistake and braced myself for its removal. Dreams that do come true can be as unsettling as those that don't. When I saw that woman on the off-ramp, I saw every misstep I'd ever taken, and it took me a moment to realize that I wasn't her anymore. I kept thinking, there but for the grace of God, not knowing that that phrase would actually mean something to me in the near future. I used to stay up late at night writing stories. There are mostly thinly disguised versions of my own past. It seemed like a good way to figure out where I'd been. When writing, I could reclaim things that I'd let go of long ago. Like many people going through momentous episodes in their lives, it was often hard to tell whether angels or devils prevailed at the time. Vital parts of me had been up for grabs. But somehow I got saved. From things, myself, the devil, from whatever you want to call it. So I submit yet another book from somebody famous. Writing such a book is a pretentious excursion. All I did was stay alive long enough to do something I love and eventually get recognition for it. There is danger in becoming estranged from the former and attached to the latter. But I did it, and I sit here smiling, waiting for the punchline. I spent the first 20 years of my life waiting for 2 men I was reasonably certain would never come back. My daddy and Jesus Christ. I don't wait for them anymore. My dad, anyway. And at least with Jesus, I didn't spend all that time thinking he was gone because of something I did. I was born on January 30th, 1958 in Montgomery, Alabama. I would have been born in Tuskegee, where we lived, had the town not been too small to accommodate a hospital. Later, I would ask my mother, after we moved to Georgia and I was teased about being born in Alabama — the world is never too small for regional hatred — if I was conceived in Georgia. She would answer, "Why, yes, tell them it happened in Atlanta." Everyone who made me was Southern. On my father's side, there was pride in this. On my mother's, benign resignation. In any event, I'm so Southern I'm related to myself. We were surrounded by believers in the New Testament. My mother held the fort of our agnosticism as best she could, but it was nearly an impossible fight. When we were small and had to fill out forms in school which asked for our religion, I'd ask my mother what to write. She pursed her lips and said, "Put Protestant." Then she gave a technical explanation and added, "But I'm not even sure that's what we are, because I can't answer for my children, and I'm not going to tell y'all what to believe. All I can do is try and convince you that being a good person is better than not being one." I wasn't so sure what to do about a mother who didn't quote Bible verses or scare me with revelation. Once, when I was about 10, I asked my mother what religion she was. After pausing a moment, she said, "I'm a pantheist. That means that God is in everything." Well, I liked that idea. It cleared things up for me. At the time I was growing up, if you believed in Jesus, there were lots of ways of saying so. Some of the expressions are as colorful as the South itself. Saved, born again, and my personal favorite, washed in the blood. Whenever anyone asked me if I had been saved, I told them not really, but that I had a terrible first marriage. I had been washed in the blood. From time to time, revivals came to town. I went because there wasn't much else to do. I didn't go because I was scared of hell. I was just afraid I'd miss something. To me, boredom is worse than